Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Successful Woman's Mindset. My name is Galit Rosen. I have the honor today to interview another fabulous author from our collaborated book, The Successful Woman's Mindset, 21 Journeys to Success. Welcome, Pam.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you. I'm excited to dive into your chapter title. I think it's so necessary and so needed. So I just want to share with everybody that Pam Kurt is an attorney and she's owner of Kurt Law Office as well as a life coach. So let's jump right in and talk about what does the phrase the successful woman's mindset mean to you?
I think the phrase for me means that it comes from inner work, because your mindset and yourself. And it kind of actually made me start to think on this journey about peace and moving forward. And I do feel most women that are successful, their mindset are very similar. A lot of us like to stay super busy. A lot of us solve everyone's problems, but you don't always take care of yourself. And I can preach it. I don't always do the best for myself, but it was great to be involved with multiple women with similar mindset. And again, just to kind of, everybody has a way to kind of bring that around how you get your successful business, but there's always that little element of taking care of yourself. And I think most of us need to expand that self-care, but I also think that there's always that common denominator. And I think that's really important.
I do believe that too. I don't always like to, in this sense, stereotype the characteristics of a female because so many of us are so different. But I do believe that there are certain characteristics that are kind of ingrained in us from our DNA, from our birth, from our gender. And it's quite interesting because I love that you use the word inner self and self-care. Let's talk about that just for a minute. When we think about the successful woman's mindset and it's doing the work within, but also recognizing that we have to cause ourselves self-care, what kind of piece of advice would you give anybody that said to you, well, how can I do that? I'm so busy.
Right. I think that, again, I'm better at preaching it. I need to work on that for myself every day. But I think the analogy that sometimes to get people to start to think about how important self-care is that if you're in the airplane and you're trying to put on the mask, for your child, I mean, we all want to protect our child, but how can you take care of everybody to the best of your ability if you're not healthy or you can't take care of yourself? And again, another part of the journey, if you will, is that you try to recognize that you do need to love yourself and take care of yourself. And that's part of the journey. And so that's why, even transitioning into a life coach is important because it's all about, in my mind, it's all about your heart and your head. And that will lead you to whatever success you want to be in. And so I think both that inner work and self-care are pretty important.
And it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I use that oxygen mask example all the time because it's such a great, because our inner instinct is take care of someone else first. And when you get on that plane and they say to you, please put on yours first, it's so brilliant because I always say, how can I take care of somebody else if I'm not taking care of myself? And I think that's a perfect segue into your chapter title. So let's jump into why this chapter title, why this topic, and why it was so important for you to write about this for the women that are going to be reading the book. So the name of the chapter is Finding Inner Peace to Be the Best Version of You.
It's important to me for a lot of reasons. And on a personal level, I've gone through a lot of different struggles, which a few are examples in the chapter. But over every struggle, there is, the silver lining and a lot of cliches that everybody hears. But until you get that peace and that level of peace, you can't be the best you. And it comes in stages. 10 years ago, I would have not been satisfied with the things I am now. And I'm sure in 10 years from now, I won't be satisfied because life changes, things evolve. So that inner peace and finding those moments are really important. And in the chapter, again, I highlighted a couple things that have affected me throughout my life, and you deal with those in different stages. So I really feel that, going through that journey and finding your inner peace, again, being the best you, allows you to help the people. And almost everybody starts their job and says, well, because I want to help somebody. But again, if you don't have it within you, how can you give it away? Right? So, and that's a hard concept for me to comprehend, because again, I'm the problem solver like you. It's easier to do this and that. But I need to be whole and I need to be at peace and complete so that I can be the best me. And then I do have more to offer. And it's clearer to draw those lines and how to offer. So that's kind of the chapter kind of had the journey. And I am working on a book, a full book, which I'll probably have to talk to you about later.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
There's
You know that
multiple chapters.
Pam, one of my favorite things about putting this book together was that every woman that has a chapter in this book has a book in her. Like it's just a gift. But I love that this became a stepping stone for so many women that are in the book. I mean, there's 21 with me that they got that just little edge in. Okay, now I've really got to work on my book. I know what it feels like to write one chapter. Now let me write a full book. So I'm excited about that. And I absolutely agree. You have a book in you. One of the things I wanted to talk about real quick that I also use this a lot. Pam and I connected really most recently because of her taking part in this book. And we have so many common characteristics and qualities about our personality, but I use the best version of you all the time. So let's go ahead and jump in for a second, because someone might say to you, Pam, I don't really know what that is. How do I find that? How do I find the best version of myself?
Well, I think that's a quest I've done my entire life, because it lines up with what your purpose is. And again, there's millions of books probably written on finding your purpose or being the best you. So one of the things that I've kind of started to get people to look down that path, if money and time is no object, and tomorrow you could wake up, what would you do? What would your life look like? And to me, that sets the pace on getting you to the best version of you. Because if there was no restraints and you wake up and this is where I'd live, this is who I'd have the relationship with, this is the job, this is the amount of money in the bank. If you can just go there in your mind and think of the ultimate you, and that usually starts the conversation. And then we kind of break down, okay, well, how do you get there? And maybe it is you have to get a degree. Maybe you have to leave the current relationship. Maybe we need to figure out a better way to manifest money. And those all, continue in the conversation. But I almost always start with that. And honestly, I've kind of used it in some of my clients as a lawyer, because sometimes you get so overwhelmed with everything. It's fun. It's a way to kind of decompress. But if there was no restraints, what would you be? And I think that if you can answer that with your heart and soul, I think that gives you the great path to be the best version of you. And I also believe if it comes to your mind, it's there for a reason.
Yes.
God's telling you to go that way.
Yes. Listen, stop ignoring.
Right. Exactly. So I really think that question builds a lot.
Yes, well, we're just giving real basics. You're going to go through more details in your chapter as well, and on specific ways to do that. I just know that start somewhere. Asking yourself those difficult questions. And by the way, when you're going through it, they are not easy. I have to tell you, when I was going through my journey over 10 years ago and really getting into this best version of me, what is it that I want to do? What's my genuine and authentic? And by the way, for anybody listening or watching, that doesn't mean you have to turn your world upside down. There are many things in my world, in my life, that are exactly the same that they were 10 years ago. But there's some things that you want to look at and probably change. So as Pam said, you can be living that authentic, genuine, best version of yourself life. So I love the way that you put all that in context. I love the way you wrote your chapter. I'm not going to give away too much about it because I want people to read it. And I think there's so much that they can learn from it. I mean, finding inner peace, who doesn't want that? And being the best version of you is for you. So it's a great chapter title. I'm glad that you came up with that chapter title, and I'm glad you wrote it. Let's go ahead for fun and share something fun about yourself, about your business, about you that you want people to know.
Well, I know that I've gone through a lot of struggles, and I think for a lot of strong women, specifically, as you go through those things, you just go through them. You don't realize what you're going through until maybe it happens to someone else and you help them. And I think that my law firm, the new business, the life coach, all of that is kind of based on faith. I always say I work without a net. I don't have a rich family. I don't have a rich husband saying, oh, here, go try this. So I've always kind of just tried to go with my gut and do that. And part of the journey that I want people to know is that while you're going through that process, not turning your life upside down, but moving through those next stages, you can still have inner peace as you go through those. And I think that's very key. So I just, I'm a very spiritual person. And again, I think that everything that you want and any answer you want or anything you want, it's out there. And I, am honored when people ask me to help them go through that journey to get there. And I guess on a lighter note, something that's fun is that anything to do with water, anything drawn to water. I own a boat. If I can sit in the sun and be by water, water is the calming effect for me. If I woke up tomorrow and money time was no object, I would suddenly be a master scuba diver and own my own dive shop. So in 10 years.
Love that. And you can, and you will one day. No, you could totally do that. So water is a recharge for me too. I'm not probably the one that wants to be doing the sports on the water, but sitting next to it, and especially waves of the ocean. So we have that in common too. I can just sit and stare at the ocean for hours and hours and hours. I don't need to be doing anything, or I could be doing everything in front of the ocean.
Right.
And still be happy. I love that about you. Well, let's go ahead and share with everybody how they can get a hold of you, how they can learn more about working with you.
All right. Well, they could reach me through the law office. Obviously, you mentioned Kurt Law Office. But again, I would appreciate that if you went through my new business, the Life Coach, because I think that's more driven, and business is going to be part of your mindset. But the website is bestversionyou.com. Contact form is on there. You could always call, the local number. But again, I think that's the easiest right now for everyone. And there's an email on there as well, or just pam@bestversionyou.com.
And all that information will be on with this recording, so they'll be able to find you and get a hold of you to learn more. I appreciate you so much taking the time to talk to us about your chapter. I'm excited for people to read it. I think it's such an important piece of the successful woman's mindset. And that's why we decided to write this book, The Successful Woman's Mindset, 21 Journeys to Success, because we're all still on it. We're all still going towards it. And I wanted to say thank you to everybody that listened and watched today. You can learn more about the book at thesuccessfulwomansmindset.com. or you can find it online at Amazon or any online retail store. Thank you so much for watching another episode of The Successful Woman's Mindset. I appreciate you joining me, Pam, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Thank you.